Hey guys, what's going on? This is going to be a very short video. The regular Friday video is going on as usual, but this one's going to be especially short because I want to show you guys something. Back in the old Windows XP, Windows 95 days, a lot of things were changing. DOS was becoming a little less dependent. When Windows XP came out, it became for sure that DOS was going to go away eventually. And of course, in Windows Vista, DOS was replaced with Windows NT. Windows NT replaced the DOS base of the operating system. The reason why Microsoft did that is to protect the operating system against viruses. What they realized in the Windows XP days was that computer viruses had an easier time attaching to the operating system when you had DOS, because the viruses attacked DOS. And when McAfee and Norton first came out with the first scanners, the scanners were only scanning Windows, not DOS. So you still had a virus in your computer. You were unable to get rid of it. So that's the reason why DOS operating system never made the cut. That's the main reason why it never made the cut. So at the end of XP, they made the very tough decision, and they said, you know what? It's time to move to the future. Let's get rid of DOS and let's use NT as a base and go with that. So that's what we have today. Windows 11 is pretty much Windows NT based. Windows 8, Windows Vista. Windows Vista was supposed to be coming out about now. Windows Vista was ahead of its time. The reason why Windows Vista, everybody hated Windows Vista, was because computers back in the old day could not handle Windows Vista. The computers were just getting off of Windows XP, so they needed something that was something that wasn't going to be heavy on the video card, and something wasn't going to be very heavy on the whole computer in general. Because the programs you're putting on it is heavy on it as it is. Operating system has to use little to no resources. And Windows Vista was using a butt ton of resources. That's without programs. With programs in it, it was locking up computers like crazy. That's the reason why Windows Vista was the most hated operating system of all time. Now, if you use Windows Vista on your computer right now, I guarantee you'd love it. You'd absolutely love it. Windows Vista was created way before it should have been. Vista should have come out about now. Why? Because we have video cards that cost as much as a computer. We have Core i9 processors, for Christ's sake. We have cooling systems on the processors and the video cards. We have 2 gigabytes of RAM, 1 terabyte hard drive. That's more than enough to run Vista. I guarantee you. If you ran Windows Vista on a modern day computer, you'd love it. I guarantee you you'd love it. The only reason why people hated it back in the old days was computers back then was unable to handle it. Computers were just not powerful enough. You had a Pentium 1 or maybe a Pentium 2. Actually, trying to think, Windows XP I think had a Pentium 2. I think Windows Vista had a Pentium 3 or Pentium 4. And the Pentium 3 was okay, but they had to create the Pentium 3 MMX especially for Windows Vista. I remember Intel had to create the MMX Pentium 3 especially for Windows Vista. As far as video cards goes, I don't remember. I honestly don't remember what video cards were available at that time. But during the time of Windows XP, video cards were not that prevalent because games did not draw as much power from the chipset and from the games, from the video card. Why? Because computers had a video card and an audio card. Computers had a Pentium 3. You had a simple video card, which is a simple chipset, with a simple board that went into the motherboard. Very, very simple. It had the monitor plug in the back. It had a couple of diodes and chipsets on it and stuff like that. It had some memory chipsets on it. No big deal. It had maybe like one of those little grates that you put on it it had one of those little things on it with the grates on it to dissipate the heat. And it was fine. The Pentium 3s had that metal thing with the spikes on it that dissipated the heat from it. I mean, it literally gave off no heat whatsoever. There was no need to have coolers because the programs on the computer was not drawing that much. So there was no need to have anything more powerful. As games and programs drew more and more and storage got bigger and bigger, things started to happen. Microsoft realized that maybe we should step the game up a bit and make things a little bit more to match the computers getting beefed. And I think Microsoft went a bit overboard with Windows Vista, and Windows Vista basically bombed. I wasn't with Microsoft at the time, but I can tell you right now, All the copies of the games sat in the stores. Not one person bought one Vista. It came with your computer? Yes. You hated it? Yes. Can't do anything about it. Can't backpedal. So you had to suffer with it. So those that had it got it from the computers they bought. Nobody bought it voluntarily because they were afraid. Windows Vista was really, really taxing on your computers. Computers were not that big back then. Not like they have them now. I mean, right now people have like Core i9 processors and the NVIDIA 5070 video cards. There's no audio cards because the video cards handled audio for you. On the NVIDIA 5070, there's the top of the video card and there's a piping on the bottom. On the top of the video card, underneath all that plastic, is a motherboard, right? On that motherboard is two chipsets. One's for the video, one's for the audio. And there's all memory banks built into it. Then they have the piping, which cools it down. Okay? So a video card is your audio and the video both in one. Both in one. The reason why is you do not have jacks for speakers anymore. The reason why is because you have USB and HDMI. Because there's no monitor plugs anymore, because everything is HDMI and nothing's monitor plugs, nothing's nothing's headphone jacks, nothing. Because of that, there was no reason to have anymore specific video card jacks and specific audio jacks. There's no need for specific peripherals. The reason being is because the HDMI plug can carry data, video, and audio all in one plug. So why would you have those separate plugs? If you could have one plug that does everything. That's why HDMI was added to PCs. Because HDMI transfers data, audio, and video, all three. That's the reason why video cards took on the extra burden of being an audio card also. So your video card does audio and video, both. That's why it has a liquid cooling system underneath it. Okay, you still with me? Good. Now, also another thing. Your processors. You have to understand, processors back in the day when you had a Pentium 3, say, Pentium 3s got warm, a little bit warm. And the heat, what they did was, they would pick up the chipset and they would put a little bit of thermal paste on the top of the chipset, right? They would slosh a bunch of thermal paste on top of the chipset, and then they would put a heat sink on top of the chipset. Heat sink is a piece of steel with spikes coming out of it. Now, the thermal paste would be on top of the chipset, and the cooler, aka the heat sink, would be on top of the thermal paste. You would then put the chipset on its holder and lock the chipset. If the chipset ever got warm, the thermal paste would start to heat up, and the heat sink would take the heat, and the thermal paste it would dissipate all the heat. It would get rid of all the heat that the thing was generating. That would cool the thermal paste down, therefore cooling down the processor. That was how we dealt with heating and cooling back in the old days. See, now we can't do that because we use thermal paste on our processor right now. It'll just evaporate. A Core i9 processor, it's insane. Do you have any idea what a cooler for an i9 processor looks like? You want me to show you? I'll show you right now. Let me make my window a little bit bigger. I'm going to show you what your average everyday cooler for a really good cooler for an i9 processor looks like in the box. Hold on, I'll show you right now. Now this thing looks like something you'd put on an AMD, because AMDs get very hot. But take it from me, Intel is catching up. Intel is catching up with speed and heat, both. You can't keep it cool for long. The faster you get, the hotter it's going to get. Now this bad boy is supposed to go on top. This goes on top of the i9 processor. It's the same size as this box. This goes on top of the processor. This is the cooler. It has a built-in temperature gauge. Can you believe this? Intel needing a cooler? Of course, you'd expect something like this from an AMD. You'd never expect this from an Intel chip. Mind you, Intel needs this. If you own an Intel i9 processor, I guarantee you that thing is red hot. I have an Intel i9 processor. Now, my computer came with a cooler, little tiny thing. And I bought this thing to cool it down. What I didn't know was that the cooler that was on top of it was not installed right. When I took the cooler off, I found a piece of solid steel on top of the cooler. So I took the solid steel off. I ripped the solid steel off and put the thermal paste on it. Put the cooler back on the processor, start it up, cools a cucumber. Apparently, the company that made my computer did not put the original cooler on correctly. Don't get me wrong. i9 processors do get red hot. It is possible for them to get hot, with or without a cooler. But it's always good to have a backup one of these just in case. Because if my cooler that's on my computer stops working, that thing will overheat and melt the motherboard. So it's always good to have a backup plan handy just in case. And that is my backup plan. I ain't messing around. That's the reason why I don't do AMD processors, because I don't like coolers. But my NVIDIA 5070 has a water base as a liquid cooling system. And I have a liquid cooling system for the motherboard. Yes, my motherboard has a liquid cooling system built into it. I'm dead serious. In the front of my my computer tower, there's 3 fans. Behind the 3 fans, in the backhand corner, there's really thick pipes running down. And in the back of the tower, if you take the other side off, you're going to see pipes running all along the borders of the tower. Those pipes are to keep the motherboard cool. The motherboard has its own cooler. The front fans intake air from the outside. That air is used to keep the water cool. So the heat from the motherboard immediately absorbs into the water in the pipes. And the air from the outside keeps the motherboard cool. As long as the motherboard stays cool, the chipset will also stay cool. And if the chipset starts heating up, that heats up the motherboard, and both start heating up, and that's when the fans in the front of the tower go faster. That's the way my computer works. Now, if I added this and took out the cooling system from my chipset, this is not a liquid-based. I don't think it's a liquid-based cooling system. No, this isn't. This is an air-based cooling system. This is not a liquid-based cooling system. Which means if I took out that cooler out of my computer, the front fans would just cool down the motherboard. And that's it. It would have no effect on the chipset. This would have effect on the chipset. So my computer was built, the front fans were built to keep the motherboard cool because the i9 was getting too hot for the motherboard to handle. Sounds a lot like AMD, doesn't it? Who would have guessed an Intel chip can do that much damage? Unfortunately, welcome to the future. The future of computers is heat, heat, heat. And you have to find a way of dissipating that heat. Simple enough, really. I mean, honestly, it's simple enough. I wanted to go over this now before I lost my brain. Before I do my Friday video that I usually do, I wanted to go over this real quick. And just a little tidbit. Also, another thing, I've been on the beta testing team for Windows 11. And I've been noticing something very interesting. I'm getting a small glimpse of what Windows 12 is going to look like. I have a funny feeling in Windows 12, the control panel is going to change. And I think there's going to be 1 or 2 changes to the start menu. I saw 1 or 2 things different when I started doing the testing for it. But then they went back to the one they have now. So, funny feeling to testing the waters and see how it is. I think that they think that not enough people are using the start menu. Personally, as you can see, with all the icons I have on my screen, I don't use my start menu all that much. I should, but I don't. Most of the reason why I don't is because of this. Let me show you. Let me show you something. Start menu has changed so much over the years. The start menu has changed a lot. Let me show you how much it's changed. Now, start menu used to have one long thin bar going straight up the left side, and it used to have all the programs right here, and you just use a mouse wheel, you scroll up to whatever program you want, click it, program starts, then the menu disappears. Now, you can do that, but you have to do this. See that? There's the start menu. The reason why they change it to this is because computers have a larger storage facility, which means more programs are needed. For example, the Microsoft programs alone. Look at this. 1, 2. Yeah, there's Windows Media Player. They changed it. That's Windows Media Player right there. Man, how it's changed. There used to be people used to like Windows Media Player. Now it's just Media Player. Yeah, I have a lot of stuff on here. Now this is the new AI, Microsoft AI, the Copilot, the AI Copilot. I'm going to go over that in a future video as soon as I get more information on how it works and what its main purpose is, what people are supposed to use it for. As soon as I get more information, I will go over this and how to use it. Now, if you have Office, you will get Clipchamp. I don't know what it is. And when I find out, you'll be the first one now. Microsoft Defender came out during the Windows Vista days. The reason why Microsoft Defender came out was because of the disaster in Windows XP. Windows XP had no defense against viruses. And because of that, viruses were overtaking the entire operating system. Although people loved the operating system anyway, still, it didn't matter. Microsoft is giving you a free antivirus system, especially for your computer. The problem is, Microsoft Defender, back in the day, when I was MCSC, I don't know about now, when I was MCSC, McAfee was a company that was hired to manufacture Microsoft Defender. I don't know if it's the same thing, but honestly, what makes me think that it's still a separate company is because of what it says right here. protect more devices, protection for Windows, Android, iOS, and Mac. Now, why would Microsoft Defender say that it will protect Mac and Android? Why would it do that? Why would it do that unless this is made from a separate company like it used to? Don't forget, McAfee and Norton created the original Windows Defender. Eventually, people didn't believe that it was doing anything, and McAfee and Norton created their own programs to go on top of this. So, in a way, by you getting McAfee or Norton, you were doing overkill. You were getting a program you didn't need. Why? Because you had Defender active and running on your computer system. Yep. So you basically getting an antivirus for free back in the old days. Now, you're not. You have to pay for it. I ain't paying for Defender. No way. I ain't paying for Defender. No, thank you. No, thank you. I will just stick to what I have. I'm good. I'm totally good with what I have. I have AVG, and I'm perfectly okay with that. I use AVG. AVG is probably one of the best. Well, maintenance. Come on. Maintenance. There you go. AVG is probably one of the best ones to use. AVG is not paying me. I'm not making any money from them. This is out of my personal experience. AVG is very thorough. They make sure everything's kosher. And they also have protection. They block unsafe downloads. It has a built-in firewall system. A firewall system that Windows Defender used to give you for free. As I just showed you, Windows Defender is not free anymore. Windows Defender you have to pay for. Why should I pay for something that only does viruses and not anything else? This does viruses. This protects against downloads. Protects unsafe emails. Keeps hackers away from your PC with the firewall protection. Monitors your accounts for leaked passwords. And it's a virus scanner. All for one price. And this is only one program. And you get this. That's not bad. And you know what? This program's very thorough. For really big computers, it scans very quick. It's a very fast scanner. A very fast scanner. See? Pretty fast. Done. You're good. That's it. They have other programs as well. BreachGuard, Anti-Track, Device Driver Update. Although Windows Update is supposed to keep your drivers up to date, it's always good to have a backup plan. And driver update is a good backup plan. If this shows you that NVIDIA, they found a new NVIDIA, what you could do is let me show you what I do. If I scan this and it shows me that there's a NVIDIA driver needs to be updated, what I will do is I'll go out, I'll go in to NVIDIA. Where is NVIDIA? There it is. I'll go in. If it says that there's a new, I'll go in there, I'll scan, and I'll go, oh, there's a driver. Let's go. That's it. You scan, it tells you there's a driver that needs to be updated. You go and manually update that driver, scan it again, no driver update. Even if you don't use it to update drivers, it will let you know if one of your drivers is outdated. That's the handy part. If you have no way of updating it, for example, if you have a controller like this hooked up to your computer, and you want to update this driver, and you don't know what, you have no idea what to get updates, you have no idea what to get driver updates for this, that program automatically update the drivers for this hardware for you automatically. If you have the opportunity to update the drivers manually, do it. Do it first before continuing. Do not continue, do not allow that program to update drivers that you can update yourself. The reason being is because these are original graphics drivers from the company. By using that program, you're using drivers, yes. You don't know if you're using game-ready drivers or studio drivers. You don't know. You could be using game-ready drivers, or you could be using studio drivers. You don't know what driver you're using. You just don't know. It's hard. It really is hard to tell. So,